All right, 6, an e-course. So the concept here is people are learning from home. I don't need to tell you that there's never been a time like this where online learning is exploding. What can you teach them? Build a course in Teachable or Kajabi. We use Teachable. We can support you in that if you have questions. Kajabi is also a good one. We're not familiar with that platform to be able to walk through it with you. I mean, really, we're looking at a 2 to 4 week implementation, focusing on maybe an audio course where you can just use something like this to record the audio. If you're doing video, that's going to be a little bit more complex, and you're going to need good quality mics and lights and maybe a videographer, unless you have those sorts of things. But honestly, you can just create slides. Like these slides at the end, I think it's Slide Carnival. I'll have a link to, or just not a link, just who it was. But this design came through them. Totally free, integrates with your Google Drive, and then you import it, you put your content. I mean, honestly, you could use something like QuickTime to just walk people through this and then do an e-course and sketch it out over 2 to 4 weeks. You can record on QuickTime and focus on the minimum viable product. So what's the minimum amount that you could do that to you makes sense? So I mean, imagine that you sold your e-course for $200. I mean, it could be on ways to reduce anxiety in kids, or a 7-week course that's all on helping parents. There's so many different ideas there. That'd be an extra $1,000 a month. So how would you do this? So first, focus on the pain of the people. Focus on one problem you will solve through your course. And you really want to focus on what is the smallest, fastest course that you can give people. People don't sign up for an e-course because they want to have 30 hours. They want to be saved time. The pain and the people, you are speeding up their progress by doing this. So you don't need to have a 30-hour course. It could be that you have slides and you do 7 20-minute videos on something, then give a little content, some downloads, and then boom, you've got a course. And then when this whole thing's over, you're going to have something you can point people to. Create the content. So you're creating videos with slides and audio, or audio only, or you use Zoom interviews to interview experts, then create PDFs in canva.com as downloads to help with their outcomes. So you want to think through, okay, someone watches this video, what are their next questions? Well, like if I was doing it for this, okay, maybe I'd have a workbook of all 7 of the ideas. I'd have the summary of what I covered. I might have sections for you to write in it and brainstorm your own ideas. I might have videos with links, in the e-course. And then you're going to promote the idea. So, build a webinar like this on a platform like Zoom to talk about the problem, myths, and reasons why this pain exists. Then have the next step be to buy that course. All right. Idea 7, not 6. I made these slides quickly, as you can tell, but I wanted to get the information out to you. So the concept here is a podcast builds an audience to make money from sponsors, your products, and affiliates. It's the broadest and easiest way to build an audience. And so with this, a podcast honestly is the best use of your time right now if you want to reach a broader audience. So put 7 in the chat if this is your jam. Time to implement. To do it well, you should probably spend at least 6 weeks in planning and recording. I'm going to walk you through some extra slides on this one because I'm really passionate about people that are highly educated like yourselves putting podcasts out there. We now have the Practice Podcast Network, where we're launching 12 new podcasts in quarters 1 and 2 of this year. So I'm going to walk you through some of the typical income as well. But first, you're going to want to determine your message for idea number 7. What's the problem your podcast will solve? Is this a pain people want to stop feeling? Focus on solo shows. So do at least 5 solo shows where you're talking about kind of the main pillars of your podcast. Then move into some interviews and then some live consulting. So this really sets you up as the expert. We really want to have you create your first episodes, at least 15 episodes before launch. So on launch day, you can launch 5. And then you can be releasing those next 10 episodes weekly and not be worrying about making content. You can buy music from Jamando. So jamando.com, we don't have an affiliate link with them, but you want to pay the $49 for a license that you can use in videos and podcasts so you don't get sued. And then the mic that we recommend is practicethepractice.com/mic. That is an affiliate link with Amazon, but that microphone, the AT2020 USB, is the one that I personally use for the podcast. It's the one that our podcasters use. Then you're going to launch your podcast. You're going to submit your feed from WordPress, from your WordPress plugins to iTunes Connect, create show notes and transcribe each episode, coordinate with guests, and promote it. So let's just look a little bit at podcasting compared to blogs and YouTube. So for every person, there are 2 not blog posts, blogs. Okay, so there's a ton of blogs out there, 750 million. Now, statistically, if this was a 6-foot tall person, let's compare what that looks like. So for every one person, for every one YouTube channel, there are 6.2 people. And so there's about 25 million YouTube channels out there. So the statistical difference between a blog and YouTube is the difference between 6-foot tall person and King Kong. All right, now let's look at a podcast. For every podcast that's out there, there are 1,000 people. All right, 160,000 podcasts a month. 160,000 podcasts are posting at least monthly. And so when you look at the stats, podcasting is an awesome use of your time. That's a statistical difference of Mount Everest compared to King Kong compared to a 6-foot tall person. So the data is really there. So find your audience first and the income will follow is the big thing. But let me just talk through kind of the financial side. The single best way for you to make money off of a podcast is to have your own products. And so having your own things, whether that's a membership community, an e-course, or any of these things we talked about, that's the best way because you have that trust with your audience. And when potential sponsors know that you have built up your audience, that they actually buy, that's when they want to be sponsors. If you can't even get your own audience to buy something from you, that's a red flag to sponsors. And so you want to make sure that you're able to find what the pain is and solve that for your audience first. So any of these other previous things you could sell through a podcast. But then for sponsorships, there's a thing where they have a cost per 1,000. So typically they'll pay $30 per 1,000 downloads in the first 60 days. So say you get 5,000 downloads in the first 60 days, that's $150. Now I don't subscribe to that because if you have an audience that is super niched in, that is the exact audience that a sponsor wants, they will pay $1,000 to $2,000 per episode to get in front of that audience. And so for us this year, we're going to do 6 figures in sponsorship. For a typical new sponsor or a typical podcast, you're probably looking at $2,000 to $3,000 in the first year when you've launched it. Affiliate wise, it would be very similar numbers to what we had said before. Affiliate wise, you're going to make maybe a few $100s a month from the podcast. But really, it's promoting your own product and getting your own people and understanding that pain more. So the big concept here is find your audience first and the income will follow. All right, so just think for a second, what would an extra $1,000 per month do for you? Let's talk action. So first, how you're going to do this is an evaluation phase. I want you to observe, listen, and engage. Find out from your own clients, find out from where you're on social media, what is it that for you is really you're noticing, you're hearing, you want to engage with. Next, we want to do some time blocking. This is where we block out time that we're going to work on something. So maybe every Tuesday morning from 9 to 11, that's my best energy. I'm going to work on launching a podcast. I'm going to work on, doing more blog posts. You're going to block that time. You're going to sprint like crazy. So set a timer for 20 minutes. You're going to sprint for those 20 minutes, then take a breath, walk around, get a cup of coffee, evaluate how you did, and then repeat that. Then after that, we want to launch. We want to, whatever of these things that you want to launch, we want to do the minimum viable product to get it out there so that we can get feedback. We want it to be imperfect. That testing gives us data. If we launch something and get some feedback on it, it makes it so much easier than if we just kind of push and push and push and have it be perfect from the beginning. Then we want to slow down. So we want to allow the brain to rest before we evaluate. This is key. As many of you know, we've got Slowdown School, which is an event we put on in the summer where high achieving practices and podcasters and big ideas people come together. We slow down and then we work on their businesses. We'll see how that goes with the whole coronavirus thing. We might have to pause it this year. And then we have another event called Killing It Camp where we run full tilt towards your business and big ideas. So that idea of Killing It Camp and slowing down is all part of the same way of doing business. So we want to let your brain slow down. I mean, even back here, I have breathe, sprint, kill it, relax, repeat. Like that is how I live my life, where Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I run full tilt. And then I have a 4-day weekend where I refresh, I rejuvenate, I bake, I play with the kids, and then come back just ready to tear it up, for the days that I'm working. So we're going to time block, we're going to launch, we're going to slow down, and repeat that over and over and over. All right, you're going to get access to our free 9-part email course. This is going to help you with your big ideas, totally free. If when you get that email later today, you don't want that, feel free to unsubscribe. Within that, it's all about how to use podcasting to help you. We're going to just give you that for free. I wrote that out for you.